I'm vengeance. What's going on, Reject Nation? I'm Greg Alba.
I'm John Humphrey.
So, yes, we saw the Batman trailer. My God, I have seen it so many times since then. I've called countless people just to talk with them about this trailer. As much as like little things I've caught while watching it. We didn't do our own shot-for-shot breakdown, and I haven't seen any Easter egg video. It would be fun to check out ScreenCrushes, because ScreenCrush is a channel... Because ScreenCrush is a channel I watch a lot on my own times. I think he's like one of the best at doing the Easter eggs and breakdowns. So if you haven't subscribed to ScreenCrush, do it today. Let's see what's in store. It's going to be the first Easter egg video I've seen. Can't wait to see what surprises are here, because this is the trailer of the year.
Hey, rhymes. You're like the Riddler.
Yeah, I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at you. Look at you, little enigma over here.
I am like the Riddler.
You little Edward Enigma.
I'm the Riddler. Yeah, I'm the Riddler.
Welcome to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy. The trailer for The Batman just dropped at DC Fandome after writer-director Matt Reeves gave a lengthy discussion about why he loves Batman.
As I said, Batman doesn't have this sort of the ability to have sort of superheroic powers. He just has superheroic focus and superheroic drive.
And if you have time, you should really watch the whole panel. It's great.
It is
let's
great.
Break down this
He
trailer
looks
and
like
all
a
the
magician.
Easter eggs and little
He always
references that you
does.
might have missed.
That's got to be
Now,
Penguin.
even
That
before
has
we
to be
see
Colin
any
Farrell.
Footage, we know this is going to be a different kind of Batman movie. That's the sound of duct tape.
What?
Not some kind of super criminal sci-fi adhesive, duct tape. Because this movie takes place in a grounded, real world. So this is presumably Paul Dano's Riddler murdering a rich guy. Later, we see newspaper clippings of Don Mitchell Jr. winning re-election. So let's assume that this is the Riddler's victim. Now notice in these clippings, there's also this tiny headline that says seawall construction stalled. That could be important. Matt Reeves cited Chinatown as one of the major influences for this movie.
Like Chinatown was a key one because Chinatown, Jake Gittes, in investigating that sort of the series of crimes that were part of that story, he discovers the depth of corruption in Los Angeles.
Now, an important subplot in that film was about water rights and irrigation. So I'm wondering if this construction project ties into the greater mystery, and this is just a tiny breadcrumb clue. Matt Reeves said this is year 2 for this Batman.
Batman year
he's
2.
evolving as a character, and so is Gotham City. This is still an incredibly corrupt town, similar to what we saw in the comic book Batman Year 1. We've seen hints of Gotham's corruption in other movies, usually a crooked cop or two. But in this movie, the corruption goes all the way to the top.
And then the murders begin to describe sort of the history of Gotham in a way that only reinforces what he knows about Gotham, but it opens up a whole new world of corruption that went much farther.
Later on, Riddler tells Batman to open his eyes, meaning to see the corruption that's choking the city.
What is the price for your blind eye?
So, a young Jim Gordon arrives at the crime scene. He's not the commissioner, but you can tell he's respected and has a higher position in the department. This newspaper reads Maroney Drug Bust. In the comics, this is the mobster that Harvey Dent put on trial, who splashed acid on his face and turned him into Two-Face. So this could be a subtle hint that Harvey Dent is somewhere in this universe.
Of course he
Gordon
is.
and the cops are clearly working with the Batman.
He has to be.
Which is interesting, because later on in the trailer, we see the Batman facing off against the police. I'm guessing the Batman gets too close to uncovering the corrupt police commissioner, so then he declares open season on the Bat. Like here, we see Batman losing temper at some police, maybe like he's finally fed up with this dirty cop. And later, he uses a grappling hook to travel
all
through
shooting
a
at him.
staircase.
Yeah.
And you can
Oh,
see
that's such a
police
great
shooting
shot.
at him. Matt Reeves also said that this
Such
is
a great
first
shot.
and foremost a detective story. Batman is the world's greatest detective, but we haven't seen that side of him too often in the movies.
The poison only works when the components are mixed. Hairspray won't do it alone, but hairspray mixed with lipstick and perfume will be toxic.
The Riddler leaves him a green envelope. It's a nice Easter egg to his uniform from the comics. The envelope contains a greeting card with an owl, which could be a reference to the Court of Owls from Batman the Long Halloween. It's a mystery story in the comic that involves Batman's entire rogues gallery. Very similar to this movie. But notice there's also a skeleton on the card, maybe pointing Batman to the gang of kids with skull makeup that he beats up later on in the trailer. Now notice that he's left a clue for Batman, several scrawl marks for him to decipher. I have actually already decoded these. You know what they say? This is your mom. The Batman suit looks awesome. Now the bat symbol on the front is actually made up of two halves of a gun.
You decoded that?
Maybe the gun that killed Thomas and Martha Wayne.
Or is
This
that a
suit
mom
is basically
joke?
riot gear that he's adapted, and you can see all the little dings and bullet scars carved into it. to it. And this, of course, is former White House advisor Steve Bannon playing corrupt police commissioner Loeb. Bruce Wayne is watching this press conference, which was actually shot in downtown Liverpool. Reeves said they shot in Liverpool to get a base of Gothic architecture, then they're adding more modern elements with CG. So hopefully Gotham won't look like any city that we recognize. Andy Serkis's Alfred gets a small voiceover as Bruce rolls into the new Batcave.
You're becoming quite a celebrity.
So let's talk about this new HQ. It's clearly made from a pre-existing structure, with these two long staircases. And it's probably underground, as indicated by these struts and the ceiling supports here. Now, since we've seen him drive through a graveyard, I'm guessing this is an underground mausoleum on the Wayne property. It's appropriate, since Batman's never been able to let go of his parents' murder. So emotionally, they're always with him. And he's operating underground where they're buried, so they're physically with him as well. Or it could be an abandoned train depot that Bruce Wayne or his family bought years ago. This would allow him access to to the entire city by using subway tunnels. You can see that it's also kind of sparse. There's no trophy.
I love where this is going.
I know, right? That this is just a guy putting on a suit and beating criminals' asses. You can also see his bat cycle here. It's not like he's going to be riding that thing around in the daytime. Then there's a few shots from this funeral, probably the mayor's, where a car crashes into a church with DOA, dead on arrival, written on the side and top. There's a hostage with a smartphone and a note for the Batman. Now, I'm wondering if the mystery in this movie can be solved by the audience. Like, will a clever Encyclopedia Brown fan be able to decipher these clues along with the bat? Later in the trailer, the Batman is nearby when this guy's bomb explodes. So it's likely that everyone, including Bruce Wayne, evacuated, and then he returned a bit later as Batman. You can even see the bomb-diffusing robot here. Ooh. Then Zoe Kravitz's Selena Kyle is breaking into a crime scene, probably the mayor's house. They shot 25% of this movie before the world ended, so it would make sense if they shot all of the footage on this same set. And the Batman fights her here later on. She's most likely breaking in here because the place is abandoned and it's easy pickings for a cat burglar. Next, there's a transformed Colin Farrell as Oswald Cobblepot.
That is him.
Actually,
that's the clearest shot I've seen.
Ladder, and at this point, he doesn't even like being called the Penguin. He's supervising or involved in some sort of deal here involving a crooked recycling center,
Gotham
while the Batman watches from high above. Now later you can see Cobblepot firing at someone, probably the Batman, and then later after that he's in a car chase to get away from him. So Batman interrupts this deal and kicks off a high-speed chase. Then we see a few flashes of this gang of kids wearing white face makeup. Now they could be a Skull Gang, or they could be the Jokers. This was a street gang from Batman Beyond that were inspired by the exploits of the Joker in the distant
Batman
past.
Beyond. You gotta be inspired.
So, does this mean that some form of the Joker, maybe Arthur Fleck, has already existed in this universe? Well, maybe. At the end of the Joker, he's inspired people to wear his face and become a
That
cult
was my
figure.
Joker
Or,
sequel
more likely,
idea. But
this universe's Joker could come out of this street gang and take control of them. After all, the Joker movie took place in 1982 when Bruce was about 9, 10, and iPhones exist in this universe, so the timing doesn't add up. But this lead guy does have stitching makeup at the corners of his mouth, implying that he's emulating a version of the Joker like Heath Ledger's with a Glaswegian smile. You can even see this kid filming with an iPhone when we get this line.
The hell are you supposed to be?
And I love that we're expecting him to say this classic line.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
Batman.
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
No, you're not. I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. You sound like Cookie Monster.
But instead...
I'm vengeance.
That's freaking brutal. Let's watch it again.
Yes,
Let's watch it again. Yeah.
always watch it again.
I'm vengeance.
Now, if a guy in a Joker mask did kill Batman's parents, that would explain this brutality. One of them gets off a shot against Batman, and he just takes it. Again, rookie Batman. In later years, he would never risk taking a shot point blank. Then we get a good look at the new Batmobile. Notice it has the booster engine on the back, but also these panels that have been riveted and welded into place, showing us that this is not slick. It's a homemade job. All of this gear is stuff that he was able to make on his own. I love the new logo and title. Notice the bat ears on the A as it forms. And the final lines.
You're part of this too.
I'm not part of it.
You'll see.
Imply there's a shared connection here between Batman, the Riddler, and all of this corruption.
Without being an origin tale for him, it ends up being something that touches on his origins. As it starts to describe this epic history of corruption in Gotham, that you start to understand, well, where did my family sit in that?
Maybe the Riddler has even worked out the greatest mystery, Batman's secret identity. and he's about to unveil that the Wayne's murder was part of some greater city corruption. But what did you guys think of this trailer? Who do you think should play Joker in this universe? Let me know in the comments below. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.
Great video.
Not bad.
Great
Well
video.
done.
Let's talk about. There's plenty that you pointed out to me. I got to point out the greeting card though, because there's something that really stands out to me in what you pointed out. It could be a reference to the Court of Owls. However, you did say the Long Halloween. I just reread the Long Halloween last week. The Court of Owls aren't in there at all. I still do think the reference to the Court of Owls could definitely be possible, because there are things about this trailer. I just finished the Gotham show this year, and there are things about this trailer in particular that at times kind of remind me of what Gotham was going for, and I'm someone who actually defends that show. I think it's a pretty damn good show. I think there are things that show was going for, and sometimes they didn't really quite hit it on the mark, and I think this movie's going to be attempting to cover similar terrain. I mean, crying out loud, Matt Reeves is working on his own Gotham show essentially right now, you know? Exactly. So setting up the idea of the Court of Owls, or at least hinting to that, could be possible. Sal Maroni being referenced on the newspaper clipping, that linking to Harvey Dent, but also to Carmine Falcone, because John Turturro is on IMDb supposedly being cast as Carmine Falcone in this movie. I don't know if it's Falcone or Falcone. I'm pretty sure it's Falcone.
It depends on how dedicated you are to Italian and showing that off.
But Carmine Falcone and Sal Maroni are rivals with one another. I don't see any casting about Sal Maroni in here, but we got Carmine Falcone right now, so maybe the next movie is going to be setting up, District Attorney Harvey Dent, and then in Dark Knight, they had freaking Joker be the creation of Two-Face, and then maybe in the sequel to this one they could have a more faithful adaptation where the courtroom scene, Sal Maroni is the one responsible for putting the acid on Harvey Dent's face. So yeah, undoubtedly Harvey Dent has got to at least be referenced. They might even say like just the district attorney or something like that. They might say something subtle,
they'll hint. This seems like it wants you to kind of have the rogues gallery in the back of your mind for a lot of this, and so yeah, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Harvey, like, this is year 2 of Bruce Wayne's journey as Batman, so I wouldn't be surprised if the early stages of the Harvey Dent come up are probably on the heels of this as well. I would love personally to see the classic take on that, or at least that sort of Long Halloween take on the origin for him, and do sort of a more courtroom, like, I don't know, explore more of those sides, because we had Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight, and not that I want a Batman movie to be a courtroom drama, but as much as we're talking about Batman being a detective, it would be cool to see more of how the law figures into all this if we're gonna bring Harvey Dent in at some point. Not that I'm expecting that for this movie, but I could see them doing that, and that could be a way of making this more real and grounded and all that, but without doing the same thing as what Christopher Nolan did.
Well, it seems like they're going for the extra real step. And it's funny how Christopher Nolan seems like he's responsible for the realistic take
Real
on
Batman.
It's kind of an inverse in a weird way. The Dark Knight is a crime thriller that took its tone and mood from Heat. A big inspiration for The Dark Knight, right, was that specific movie. The whole reason he borrowed that tone and mood is because if you read certain Batman comics, crime thriller ensemble pieces already exist in the graphic novels. Yeah. So they were already there, and then a lot of people kind of tout Nolan as the one who created that for Batman. Sometimes there are shots here that kind of do remind me of Nolan's version, like especially with anything with yellow lighting, since I know Nolan loves doing that here. I feel like they're going the extra mile for the additional level of realism. Just right down to, as a lot of people online especially I pointed out, at least I see on social media, with the eyeshadow makeup. He should have that when he takes his mask off, and a lot of the time he doesn't. It can be very conflicting, because a lot of the time you'll see the Batman close-up shots, evident he has a lot of eyeshadow on. But then he takes off his mask, and you're like, what happened to all that eyeshadow? How come there's barely any of it, or there's none of it?
You never worn it. This stuff's a mess.
that extra realism. And then even right down to like Batman's boots, for example, feel a lot more real.
Feel tangible.
This relationship between Batman and the police, what I'm really excited for that, because we've seen so much of like Batman working with Commissioner Gordon Gordon, but this seems like it's really going to explore how the GCPD feels about Batman. That opening shot when he's walking through and they're just looking at him, that might be the first time Batman's being allowed onto a crime scene. The Riddler's calling him out, so they're like, we need to bring Batman in here. The way that's shot, the way it's captured, at least in like it's slow-mo and the looks we're getting of the police, really does feel like we're looking at the first time Batman's allowed onto a crime scene. At least this one of this caliber, because it's such a big one.
It seems like there's a hush in the room or something like that, or like, this isn't the normal thing we would be doing. And then to see those later shots of him like in the bullpen with a bunch of what appear to be officers around him getting into a tussle, like I feel like this could be a cool opportunity to really enhance. Like I feel like the Police versus Batman has been, an idea, in these movies' heads, but this seems like you're going to throw us into the belly of that too. Not only does Batman have these villains and these street punks to worry about, but also the cops are like aggressively on him.
Yeah, like the police, how they feel about Gordon working with Batman and how that's affecting the police department, when Batman probably knows, how that there's so many of these cops who are so corrupt. Like so many of them are. And then of course, like I love the idea of where the Batcave could be located, how that gives him access to all the ways of transport,
like an old mausoleum or something that connects in some way to the various subway lines.
That would
of the
just
city.
be smart. That'd be super smart.
Plus it's perfectly fitting of a bat. Like it's perfect. And I love the architecture and like credit to them for like shooting in London and stuff, because I love the gothic angle that this movie seems to be presenting as well. Bringing in those more gothic elements too, I think gives it a lot of character, and it enhances just the pall that seems like it's still being cast over Bruce as a character, and that seems really fitting and comic book in a very grounded way to have him enter the cave through a mausoleum. I know some people have been commenting on his Bruce versus his Batman, but one thing I kind of noticed while watching this, because not everybody loves the look of his kind of gaunt and sad Bruce Wayne, but I actually really appreciated it, and what clicked here was it really seemed like you could separate these two, and it wouldn't be obvious at all the Bruce we're looking at could be this Batman character. And I hope that that's another thing that this movie can nail as well, is giving us a full-on Bruce Wayne that is impactful and has character depth and stuff like that, and we can feel what's going on inside of him just as much as we can live through the fantasy of him.
Lastly, Penguin. There are probably plenty of people who did watch it the first time and go, wait, was that Penguin? Let's face it, I think most people who watched this did not realize that's Colin Farrell.
No.
I saw this trailer so many times and did not realize that was Colin Farrell till someone online was putting photos up going, is this Colin Farrell?
Well, and I mean, especially like in that car bit, I thought it was just a whole other guy, like a whole
so did I.
Extra character.
Because I could have sworn they leaked some set photos of him. So looking here, the makeup on him, and we've seen Colin Farrell like in crazy makeup before, like Horrible Bosses, but it's like so comedic. Here looks so natural.
He looks like he's gonna disappear. It looks like they maybe even gave him fake teeth.
It looks like they did a whole makeup job on him to make a very realistic version of Oswald Cobblepot. I'm excited for his take on it and what this universe is building up, this specific part of the Bat universe is building up to. I really loved, actually, speaking of Gotham, I really loved the portrayal of Penguin on that series and the early stages of watching the rise of Penguin into the criminal kingpin that he became. Kicking it off here, that's going to be great. And Paul Dano's voice, too, as a Riddler. Have they confirmed that's Paul Dano's voice? It has to be his voice, but if it is, what a different take.
Like him,
because you're so used to like when you hear Riddler voice, the idea that pops in your head, it's usually something that's not quite Joker, but maybe close to.
Still kooky, still crazy.
But then to have this, like, especially with Paul Dano, who has a unique voice already.
And he has a unique cadence. And I mean, it makes sense to me. Like, it's not the obvious choice, but for somebody who is engrossed by riddles, which are these things that take a lot of intellect and a lot of consideration, I actually think that at least this sample, and also, who knows, the delivery might be completely different in the movie. This might be trailer delivery. But I like getting that too, because it's not what I expected from a Riddler voice, even though I think he is prime casting. You know, when I think of a classic Riddler, I can see him. It's another instance of like great choice, but also I hope to see this in a way I wasn't expecting. And it's awesome to have a Batman movie coming up where I'm really excited to see the Riddler and Penguin come to life. You know, instead of, it's like you asked who should play the Joker, and I don't care, and I'm so excited that I don't care right now. You know,
although the Joker makeup does raise a lot of questions. I like what he pointed out here about the card and how the skeleton could be a clue that links, and I like the idea of him following the breadcrumbs, following the trail to uncover the mystery and all that, because it sounds like there's going to be some big twist reveal at the end.
There's got to.
It's not just who's the murderer. It seems like there will be another, rug pull, like how people have been seeing online a lot too, people referencing Seven in this trailer, which I'm surprised I didn't catch on to, because I finally saw that movie for the first time only like 3 months ago. And then so to watch this trailer not pick up on, this does feel like Seven.
Yeah, you know, you got Jeffrey Wright's Morgan Freeman, and then Batman is Brad Pitt. Alfred's head is in the box. There you go.
But how that had, like, after you find out who the killer is, and then there's still another reveal to come. And I feel like this movie will have a similar type of thing at the end of, didn't see that reveal coming.
Yeah. It's got to be like a riddle. Yeah, it's got to have you thinking that you've got it cracked until the very end, and then you realize it.
I have a feeling this will not have a heroic. It will not leave you with a feeling of heroism at the end. I feel like it's going to leave you with a
feeling of just how hard all this is, just how taxing this all is to go through.
This is going to feel very bleak, like by the end, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like there'll be a victory, but it'll be like, but at what cost?
But a dark victory.
Yeah, something like that, honestly. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, subscribe to ScreenCrush if you haven't done so already. I bet in the comments there are people giving him a lot of flack about the whole saying Court of Owls and Long Halloween thing, as if they're trying to like completely discredit him. I still think that card could be a link to Court of Owls. I just think he accidentally referenced the wrong comic. All right, he had a whole bunch to point out here, and he got one thing kind of off.
A real nerd wouldn't do that. A real nerd.
To hell with you, man.
Don't make mistakes as a real nerd.
Subscribe to The Real Rejects. Please click that notification bell to get notified whenever we got a new YouTube video up. And catch you guys soon. More to come.